Hi everyone, my name is Shantasia. Welcome to my channel. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to talk about something really quickly that I have kind of alluded to a few times in my channel. And that is the fact that I have PTSD. And I think I talked about it a little bit more in my journal video, but I just wanted to talk about how that affects my writing, because I was on one of my writing groups and there was a young woman that asked if, as she was writing her character issues, if those things were what was causing her to be blocked, if they were bringing up trauma and memories and things for herself as she was creating her story. And I just wanted to talk about that because that happens to me frequently. A lot of times my stories will go to a darker place, and it's not something that I'm necessarily prepared for or that I have plotted into my story, but a lot of times my characters will just kind of take over, and my subconscious really does know where the story needs to go. So I usually will plot and plan so I really know what I want, but a lot of times it will kind of deviate. So I just wanted to just address this because I have not seen anything like that before, and I was really starting to think about it because I have been blocked for months and years because of scenes that I have written in my stories that have either brought me to a memory or they have triggered something in me because I'm afraid that people who read it are going to judge me, because it may not be exactly what happened, but the emotions that I am writing about as a result of that event in the story are real to me and I have experience. So when I am writing my stories, there is a lot of me in there, and I think everybody kind of finds that there's parts of us in our stories, and we aren't necessarily creating characters or situations that mirror our lives unless we're writing like a memoir, but it happens. It's just the way that we express and process things that have happened to us and have happened to others, or that we have seen and experienced in a creative way. It's just one of the things that we do as creatives. So I wanted to talk about what I have done now to stop that block, because my writer's block doesn't hit me when I'm looking at a page that has a blank slate or the flashing cursor or whatever. My writing blocks come from the emotion and the fear and the doubts and the inner critic. So I would just say that if you are experiencing triggers due to your writing, that you would learn how to process that. So for me, what I choose to do usually is I will walk away from my manuscript. I will give myself some time to just relax and think about what it is that I've written and why it is bothering me. And usually I will sit down and write in my journal, or I will just think about it, because sometimes I don't want to write in my journal about these things, and just kind of think about it and process it. And I will give myself a set amount of time, whether that is 2 days, a week, but I'm not going to go a month or years, because the last time that I wrote a scene that really freaked me out, it was 2 years before I sat down and wrote again. And that's really not acceptable. I mean, that really isn't. And it really kills me, because that's a lot of wasted time. And I just really have decided over the last couple of years that that's not going to happen anymore. So just decide on an amount of time that you are going to allow yourself to process what it is that you are being triggered by. If you're going to journal, if you're going to talk to somebody about it, however it is that you need to process it. Another thing to do is to practice grounding skills, whether that is like touching, you need to taste something, or something that will bring you back to your present. I am not very good at grounding skills. I will be honest. That is something that I find difficult due to the disorder that I have. So I just really will try my hardest. And a lot of times the best way to do it is to just distract myself whether it's with a movie or going to see my sister and her kids and hanging out with them, going for a walk, playing with the dog, doing little things that make me feel happy and make me feel good and make me remember that I am not back in that place and I am not the same person that I was when those things were happening, and I have skills and I am equipped to handle my flashbacks and all those things that happen to me when I'm being triggered. So I just want to encourage you that if you're experiencing this, you're not alone. There are others out there that are having issues with being triggered with their stories, and there's no reason why those triggers should stop us from telling the stories that are on our hearts and our minds, because this is how we are processing our trauma. This is how we are processing the things that have affected us so deeply. And there is no shame in that, and we should be able to learn how to work with that fear instead of letting it control us and letting the people from our past control us in a sense, or the situations from the past continue to control us. And it's not an easy process. It's something that you have to choose every time. And I don't choose it every time. There are some times that I just don't feel like I have the mental strength or the energy to go through all of that. And I'll just put a placeholder in my story and move on, because that is better than walking away from a manuscript for months or years because something in there is a little frightening, or I'm worried about the judgment that I'm going to receive from the people who know me or don't know me, and that they're going to be able to see something that I have not shared, even in a regular way. And sometimes the abstract is even scarier. So don't be afraid. Tell your story. Tell it in the way that is instinctive to you. And remember that those first drafts are only for your eyes. If that moment is just you processing and you decide later to cut it out of the draft completely, that is totally fine, because then you have worked through something and you have actually benefited from it, but it doesn't mean that you have to share it with the world. I just want to encourage you. You are not alone. You do not have to be beat down, controlled, or manipulated by your past anymore. And however it is that you choose to work through those traumas is totally, perfectly wonderful, and you will get through it. You are strong. You are amazing. You will be a conqueror over your past and over the things that you have been struggling with, because if you choose to, and if you work really hard, those things will become less, and over time they will be easier to cope with. I know this because 2 years ago, I had a mental breakdown that resulted in me losing absolutely everything. I was homeless, living in a tent in a family member's backyard for 8 months. And it took a lot for me to be able to stand up and allow myself to process the trauma, because I had been undiagnosed with PTSD, with complex PTSD from childhood trauma, my whole life. And at that time, the stress of my job, the stress of helping my family, the stress of my business, all of those things just came crashing down on me, and I couldn't cope with it anymore. And even though I regret everything that happened in a sense, because I did have a really good job and I had a lot of money and I was successful to everybody that was looking from the outside. I had the nice car, the gorgeous TV, the nice apartment, all those things. I was dying inside, and I had to break in order to realize that I needed to go to therapy, that I needed to find answers, that I needed to talk to somebody who would understand and not judge me, so that I could receive help and compassion, most of all compassion. So please just be encouraged that you are not alone, and these things will not last forever. If you put in the work and you dedicate yourself to pulling yourself up out of that dark place, there is a very, very, very good chance that you're going to improve your life, even if it is just having, like I do, maybe one day a week where I actually feel happy. And those days are amazing days because I've never experienced that before until we moved down to Texas and I actually started having peace and having some kind of semblance of self. So keep on writing. Don't give up. I know I say that all the time, but do not give up. You are a conqueror. You are a creative person. You have a creative mind, and that creative mind has saved you from so many things and has protected you from so many things. And now you have the opportunity to turn around and change the world with your stories. So do not let the past stop you. So thank you for visiting my channel. If you have experienced this type of writer's block, I would love to chat with you. So drop a comment in the box below. I would absolutely love to get to know you. I know that a lot of us authors, it's not necessarily true for all of us, but there are a great many of us that suffer from mental disorders and from anxieties and things like that. And I think that we need to just stop hiding those things and stop assuming that everyone does as well, because not everybody who is a creative has been traumatized in some grand way. I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.